So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this session all about senior leader apprenticeships given by the Department of Executive Education within Alliance Manchester Business School, which is part of the University of Manchester. It's great, as usual, to see so many people registered, a lot of new people that we don't know, plenty of individuals, but also heads of learning and development and HR and apprenticeship managers. And the sectors that you represent are typical of the wide range of sectors that we've been attracting over the last 3 years onto the senior leader apprenticeship. So that makes for a great mix of people in any cohort. My name is Jill Ingham. I'm Client Relations Manager for Apprenticeships, and I have the fantastic job of talking to people like yourselves on a daily basis and liaising with you to explain how our apprenticeship can help you as an individual progress in your career, or how the apprenticeship can help you as a HR or L&D expert to upskill your employees to create the next generation, if you like, of senior leaders and ensure succession planning for your organisations. So I've been in this role for a good 7 years now, and I just want to quickly share something I've taken away from this programme, which is the second unit on the apprenticeship. It's called Market-Led Strategy. And I've been able to use what I've learned from that unit in my role as a trustee of a local community centre, which was, to be honest, in danger of closing here in Rusholme, but we've applied the principles of finding out what the community wants and what needs to be done, what type of events to put on, bidding for funding and all that sort of thing. And we've just had a fantastic event last weekend, and we've won a huge pot of money to do up the roof, and we've got the marketing and everything in place. So it's fantastic how you wouldn't believe the things you can use the content of this programme for. And my colleague Stuart Wells will now introduce himself and explain how he sees the value of such courses.
Thanks, Jill, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. As Jill said, my name's Stuart, and I am Executive Director of Client Relations at the Business School. I've been here a similar time to Jill, actually, about 7 years, and I've been involved with apprenticeships for the last 4 years. And Jill and myself were the champions for the Senior Leader Apprenticeship at the University of Manchester. In terms of postgraduate study, the one thing I've learned really is to not just look at your role now when you're studying. So I undertook postgraduate study and studied a module called Information for Decision Making, and it really looked at a range of systems within organizations. And at the time, I couldn't really figure out why this was really relevant to me. I was working in a sales job at the time. It was only about 5 years later when I came to set up a company, and part of my responsibility was to implement with contractors all the information systems. And it became clear then what the learning was about and how it would benefit me. So I went back and actually used all the assignments, used textbooks, all the readings that I had to help me in that role. And the lesson I learned was actually, and for this program, is when you're studying, don't just look at actually what does this mean for me today. The Senior Leader Apprenticeship program is actually what does it mean for my future. So what knowledge, skills, and behaviour can I develop on the program which will help me develop my career. I'd now like to hand back to Jill, who will carry on today's presentation.
Thank you, Stuart. Just a quick slide coming up now about Manchester, which is one of my favourite slides. There it is. You can see the aerial shot of the older part of the university. Obviously, the campus encompasses lots of areas around and more modern buildings. And at a glance there, you can see, what a great place we operate in, and what fantastic things happened at the university, which of course is a Russell Group. Things there on the left that, you know, have actually influenced the world at large and society. And on the right, you'll recognize some famous alumni. And why are we showing you this? Well, it's to kind of encapsulate how Manchester has been a pioneering city over many, many years, and how we as a business school, we do try and innovate in the way that Manchester has done over the years. And you'll see from our slogan, which is coming up now, original thinking applied is our slogan or motto in the business school. And why have we got that? Well, there it is. So we are one of the 2 first business schools in the UK, in the original modern city. And our aim is to make a difference to you and your businesses. We have 5 centres covering all parts of the world, and we work with clients in those cities and countries. So we're always bringing what we've learned from clients and what they tell us into our programs across the board. We are one of only 1% of business schools in the world with the coveted triple accreditation, which you see on the right. We're ranked 21st in the world for executive education, and our doctorate in business education is 2nd in the UK. What does all this mean for you, though, all these sort of swanky statistics? What it means is that everything we teach has to be applied to you in your roles. You are obliged to be thinking about your role and your organization from the word go, and taking what we teach and applying it straight away. So you're guaranteed some great impact. I'm now going to hand back to Stuart to just explain what we mean by a senior leader apprenticeship. What exactly is that?
Okay, thanks, Jill. So the senior leader apprenticeship, actually, the standard has recently changed. But what it is it's a national standard. So there is a set of knowledge, skills, and behaviours that can be applied to really any senior leader role in any industry. And apprenticeships changed about 3 years ago, where the government said, actually, we want to re-look at how we deliver apprenticeships. So previously, an apprenticeship might be something that you thought, well, actually, it's for somebody who's a school leaver, or maybe somebody who has finished A-levels and decides they want to go into the world of work. Actually, there's been a big change now, and apprenticeship cover all levels of development. And the way this standard was developed was something called a trailblazer group comes together. So this is a group of employers, both small employers, large employers, public and private sector, professional bodies such as the Chartered Management Institute and the Institute of Leadership and Management, and universities like ourselves. And the idea is that they meet and they develop over a long period of time. Actually, this probably took about 18 months to develop an agreed set of knowledge, skills, and behaviours that you would need to have as a senior leader, which obviously is not the easiest when you might be looking at it from a healthcare perspective, you might be looking at it from a media perspective or an engineering perspective. So the groups met, and we were part of the latest round of thinking for the Senior Leadership Apprenticeship, and agreed the knowledge, skills, and behaviours. And the benefits to learners is that actually you can come out of this program and you've got evidence to say you meet the national English standard for a senior leader. Before that didn't happen because there was no formal national standard. There is now. So you can say you've achieved it. And for employers, you've got a benchmark to measure against. And when you're recruiting employers, you can actually understand what have these people studied, because you'll know the knowledge, skills, and behaviours that they've been tested against. As Jill mentioned, the idea of apprenticeships is very much it's applied to your role. So you will take the knowledge and the skills from the programme and apply it back into your role, A, to show how you can develop as a leader, but B, to look at your organisation and show how you can change and help develop it. The programme itself is 29 months in total. The Postgraduate Diploma, which is the University of Manchester delivered qualification, will take 24 months. And then you have something called Endpoint Assessment, which Jill will explain, but that can take up to 5 months. It doesn't actually have to take 5 months, but it can take, you can choose for it to take up to 5 months. So it's 29 months in total. Now, in terms of the funding, so this is an apprenticeship levy program. So if you are a levy paying employer, so if you have an annual payroll bill of over £3 million, 0.5% of that total annual payroll bill will go into a digital account, which then you can draw down to pay for this program. If you are not a levy payer, if you are a non-levy payer, so a small to medium enterprise that doesn't have that payroll bill, you can actually apply for government funding for this, and you would only have to pay 5% towards the course. So the full cost of the postgraduate diploma is £14,000. So that is the national funding cap for this program. So if you are an SME, and you meet the criteria, you will pay £700 for a postgraduate diploma. We do offer the option to top up to the MSc. So you would, to top up to the MSc, you would have to undertake an additional assignment. That would cost £4,000. Now, unfortunately, that's not payable out of levy funds anymore. So an organisation could pay for it. Or the one positive change has been that actually, as an individual, you can choose to pay and top up for yourself. And what we don't ask you to do is to register for the program and state at the beginning whether you want to do a master's. We'll actually ask you to do that at coming up to the 7th unit, and by that stage you'll have a good understanding of the program. You'll have a good understanding of your marks, because we ask for 50% and above for people who are going to go up to the MSc. And then we ask you to take that decision whether that's something that you want to do. But it is purely optional, and we're very flexible in that approach. You don't have to put a minimum amount of people. If you're an individual studying, you could do it. If there's a group of people that you send as an organisation, you could choose to put those people through it. Okay, so that's it in terms of a bit of background on what the apprenticeship program is and some of the funding around it. What I'd like to do now is I'll hand over to Jill, and Jill's going to talk through the actual program content and architecture in further detail.
Thank you, Stu. Of the program, what's the shape of it, what's in it, and what do you need to know about? So here's a diagram of what we call the program architecture. Now, the fantastic thing about this program is that it's two things in one. It's an academic qualification, which is Postgraduate Diploma Management Practice at level 7, but it's also been very cleverly designed to incorporate on each unit the skills, knowledge and behaviours that all address the standard that Stuart mentioned. So it covers everything. And it's been designed, to address that. It's not something we've just pulled off the shelf. So as you can see in the middle, there are, in the purple boxes, there are 8 units. Each unit lasts 3 months, and you do them one at a time. But before that, if you look at the top left, the turquoise box, online introduction. So the next intake will be in March. So at the beginning of March, if you've applied for this and been accepted, you get an invitation by email to go on to the virtual learning environment and listen to the online welcome. That's what you do first. And then you would come in on, we're hoping it'll be the 8th of March for the Immersion day. And that's a 9 to 5 typical day or midweek. And you come into that and you meet everybody else face to face in the room on campus. And in the morning, we go through all these components again to make sure everybody fully understands what's ahead. For some people, it'll have been afternoon, we address the thing that we know most people are most worried about, and that's the assessments. Because this program attracts a fantastic mixture of people of diverse backgrounds. Some people will have been to university and got a degree. Some may even have a master's in something completely not related to business. So they'll be more used to the way, academic study works. There's another type of person who did go to university, but it could have been years ago, and they've not really done any formal learning since. So they'll be a bit worried as well. And of course, they won't have learned online in the new era. And then there's another type of person who didn't go to university at all and may have done a vocational course or no course. And they left school at 16 and they've been in the workplace and they've done really well because, that's how they've got those natural skills, if you like. And they'll be equally worried about, am I academic enough? So in the afternoon of the immersion day, we examine, how each unit is assessed. The main assessment for each unit is a paper that you've got to write. It's called reflective practice paper, and we even look at that in the immersion day to show people that it's not a big frightening thing. And as we go through each unit, we will keep looking at that so that by the time you come to write one of these assignments, one of these papers, you're more confident. The next thing that happens after the immersion day is the Hogan Psychometric Assessment, which can sound a bit daunting, I think, but it's actually the best tool we've found in the marketplace for assessing the essence of you in the business role. So nothing to do with your personal life. It's what are you like in the workplace? And this is a 45-minute questionnaire that you do online. And the results go through to the wonderful tutors that we've got to support you. And then in your first meeting with that tutor, practice-based tutor, you'll go through in confidence what the results of the Hogan tell us. And it will be things like, what do people value in you? What are you the go-to person for? What have you got covered? It also will reveal what happens to you under stress. What behaviors do we all display when we're under stress? Because we've all got them. We've all got things that we can work on and minimize. It also looks at your experience. Are there any gaping, gaps in your business and workplace experience? Attitudes and behaviors. All of that comes out. And what do we do with it? The two of you create your own personal development plan for the 6 months ahead. That's the purpose of it, so that you address these things, fairly early on. And then if you just look across to Unit 8, leading in the workplace, in that unit, you'll come back to your personal development plan to make sure that you have addressed them all with our help and make sure that you've evidenced all the things you should have done for the apprenticeship. So that's the Hogan. Onto the main body of it. So the taught part is the purple boxes over 18 months, and then an extra 5 months at the end to do that. I'll come on to that in a minute. But just looking at the units, you can see, I hope, the things you'd expect to see as part of a diploma in management practice, the elements you'd expect to be covering. And clearly, you'll feel more comfortable in some of them than in others. And we're not trying to make you into an expert. We can't get by as a senior leader without paying attention to budgeting and cost income. So we obviously have to cover that, but we're not expecting you to become a project management expert or indeed an entrepreneur. Unit 7 is an exciting new unit. That's really, it means big data and digital for business. We can't really not address that. As I said, Unit 8 brings the whole lot together and make sure that you've got all the elements in your portfolio to show that you've addressed the things that you need to address. It also will your new leadership capabilities and what impact have your pieces of work on the units have had on your organization. And then we'll start preparing you for the next part, which is the strategic business proposal, and that's the first vertical green stripe. So armed with all the tools that you've learned and been given throughout the units, this is where you pull everything together and address a big work challenge that you've got in your role. So obviously you won't know what that is yet. It's 2.5 years away. But together with your employer and your mentor that you'll have, which Stuart will explain about, you'll think, right, the big challenge we've got right now is Project X, and that's what you'll get to work on over 12 weeks. So there's no teaching in this part. You've got 12 weeks to grapple with this this real business challenge and implement. It's not just there for academic purposes. And then once you've covered all that, your mentor and the tutor will agree that you are ready to progress to the endpoint assessment. And I shall come on to that in a few minutes. So in short, via this program, you will improve your personal performance, that of your role in the organization, and that will have a big impact on your part of the business. You'll also get great networking, of course, and a lot of learning and interaction with your fellow learners on the program. So I'm now going to just show you the next slide. And all the subtopics, because you'd expect them to be packed with more. I missed one. Sorry. Before that, let's just look at what a typical unit looks like before we go on to the detail. So this shows you a typical unit. I've said it lasts 3 months, and this is just an example. So please don't note any of those dates. It's just to demonstrate that a typical unit starts online with a 1-hour tutorial, then another one after 2 weeks, and another one 2 weeks after that, then an in-class workshop, and then another tutorial, and then submit assessment. All of that takes 12 weeks. Going back to online tutorial 1 on the left, what happens in these tutorials? They are all in the daytime. They are all scheduled on your calendars as if it was a meeting, and they are live. And typically they start with an introduction by the person running that unit, like a mini lecture, and then he'll or she'll invite you to discuss the subject. And there will probably have been some pre-work before you start the tutorial. You'll have been sent some articles to read to get yourself thinking and get your head into the subject. And on the tutorials, you can contribute. If you miss the live one, it won't disappear. You can access it later, but of course you can't speak whilst you're on it. So there's 3 of those, and then that leads into the 2.5-day workshop. That's the yellow block. That's here on campus. 2.5 days, fantastic opportunity for lots of interactive activities to explore the topic and the materials that you've been addressing, and to sort of bring to the table issues you've got in your role, in your organisation, get help from the lecturers, help from the other learners. And all the time, hopefully you're kind of writing down your ideas, scribbling down some notes. Videos for you to look at in your own time as part of the workshop. Finally, you go to online tutorial 4, which will pull all that together. And then off you go and write up your 3,000-word reflective practice paper, because that's literally what you're doing all the way through this. You are reflecting on the way you practice in your role in your organisation. And that's the sort of flow of the typical unit. And then, as I said before, the next slide shows the content of each unit. Obviously, you don't need to write anything down. We'll be sending you all these slides, but just to show there that there's plenty of fantastic content throughout the course of each 3-month unit. So the next slide is a summary of what I've said in kind of block form. The first part of the program in March is what we call onboarding, getting used to the what we call Blackboard, the virtual learning environment, and the Immersion Day. And then the 24 months of teaching and learning, which via the papers that you write. Then after the 2 years of that, the 12-week or 3-month period of time and then it is agreed that you're ready to go through to the endpoint assessment. So what happens at endpoint assessment? Well, it will be you and the assessor, which will be an expert from the Institute of Learning and Management, and you'll do a 15-minute presentation and then have a professional conversation for about an hour. And the assessor will have been sent your strategic business proposal and your portfolio of evidence that you've addressed all the elements of the knowledge, skills and behaviours. And that assessor will want to unpick some of the things that you've been talking about and that you've presented in your portfolio, the things that you typically it's, what did you find easy and useful? What things might you have struggled with? What might you like to look into more of? So it's kind of unpicking all that, and it should be an enjoyable experience, not an exam as such, because you will be well and truly prepared for it. And then just to say that after 18 months on the teaching part, we will ask people who might be interested in doing the MSc. That would be an extra 6 months tacked on to the end after the endpoint assessment. And that's to get the MSc part. And that will require another project to be addressed and written, a project of a more academic nature, which of course requires the extra funding. Anybody who's interested in knowing what that involves, just email or ring up and we'll tell you a bit more. We're not going to cover it at the moment. I shall now hand over to Stuart, who will tell you about the fantastic support that is available on this programme.
Okay, thanks, Jill. So there are 2 roles on this programme that are unique to apprenticeship programmes, and they are the practice-based tutor and the work-based mentor. So we don't have these roles on our standard part-time MSc programmes, but having worked on apprenticeship for 3 years, we've seen the real benefit of both these roles. So the practice-based tutor is an individual personal tutor that will be with every learner throughout the program. So each learner will be allocated a tutor at the beginning of the program, and they are all Hogan trained. So the idea is that you would undertake your Hogan psychometric assessment, and then you'd work with your tutor on a personal development plan, which is designed to go with you throughout the program. So you're looking at how you develop as a leader, and the tutor would act as an advisor and a coach throughout the program. So you've got someone that you can always go to if you've got an issue with the program, or maybe a challenge with some of the material. You've always got someone to go to who can help and give you advice. They would also meet with you formally on a quarterly basis. And they do this for a couple of reasons. The first one really is to make sure that you are you're happy on the program and you're achieving the knowledge, skills and behaviors that have been set out, but also to make sure that you're getting the 20% off the job training, which is a big point we get asked about. I will come on to it on the next slide. So you all at these meetings, you would meet with someone called a work-based mentor. So this is somebody senior in your organization. It could be your line manager, or it could be another senior professional colleague, such as somebody that you work with on a project or that you work within a team. The key here is that it's got to be someone who will enable you really to be able to apply the knowledges and skills into the organization and make change. That's absolutely critical of this program. and B, that you get that 20% off the job, which we'll need to monitor very, very closely. As part of our role on the program, we provide a guide for the work-based mentor, and we can provide this up front as you apply, because it's critical that they understand what their role is on the program. And then we also undertake training, specific training to all work-based mentors, so it's very, very clear what they have to do, what support and guidance they have to give to each learner on the program. But our experience so far has been positive, really positive, and we find actually both of these roles have really enhanced the program and really assisted the learner throughout the program journey. So in terms of off-the-job training, I'll be honest, it's not a term that we particularly like at Alliance Manchester Business School. We prefer the term near to the job, because the work you will do it's not part of your normal work, but it's very much developmental, and it's got to relate to knowledge, skills and behaviours. So it is very much related to your role, and the encouragement here is to actually really push yourself, try out new things, try out new ideas. But the key rule is that you must spend 20% of your time on this off-the-job training, and we tend to use a thirds rule at MBS. So a third of your time will be spent on the online course units. As Jill mentioned, you will get work to do in advance of each unit because we use the flipped classroom model. So you'll have workbooks to complete, and you'll also have assignments to complete. So that would form about a third of your time. The next third would be the workshops and tutorials that Jill's outlined. That would make up about another third of your time attending all of those. And then the final part is the workplace development. And about a third of that is undertaking activities that are developmental. So it could be implementing new processes. It could be launching a new product. It could be improving coaching processes. It could be attending this webinar. You could put this down for an hour of your time. So actually, it's a lot of activities that you're already doing can actually count as off-the-job training. And you would log them on a system called PebblePad. So it's an electronic system, and you log on and you state, actually, what have I done to meet the knowledge, skills and behaviours, and then write notes down. And our practice-based tutor will be working with you on this to make sure you continually achieving those knowledge, skills and behaviours. I think at this point, it's also really important to point out that although you get the 20% off the job time of your role, you will also need to commit about an average of 7 hours per week in addition to that 20% off the job time. This is a master's level qualification. It's a level 7 qualification, and it requires hard work. So it's better, we think, to know now about the level of commitment before signing up. But we would say with the 20%, you need another 7 hours. So about 14 hours per week to be able to complete the program. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that actually it's down to you how you manage it. So say 14 hours per week, but actually if you're undertaking a workshop, in reality, you're probably going to be taking 2.5 days plus some more time that week. So you don't have to actually undertake every Wednesday off on this. It's very much up to you as senior leaders to manage your own diary. In terms of the entry requirements, so one of the key points here is that the SLA qualification requires GCSE English Language and Maths or equivalent at grades A to C. And it's probably the biggest challenge that Jill and myself have had on this program is actually getting the evidence of these off applicants. So you have to show that you've got these certificates, which I know is not always easy. I did my GCSEs, unfortunately, a long time ago. So finding where those certificates are is not always the easiest thing to do. If you can't find them, that's not a problem. We will let you know your exam boards and you can apply for them. If you didn't undertake GCSEs in the UK, we have a system that compares qualifications, and we've had people from Albania, from Turkey, who come on the program, and we've just compared their qualifications and they are at the same level. Now, if you don't have English Language and Maths GCSE, not a problem. What we'd ask you to do is complete the functional skills course. So this is a short course, about 2 days with a short exam. for either maths or English. It's included in that £14,000 fee, so you wouldn't have to pay an additional amount for this. And you don't have to actually take this course before you begin the program. We normally ask that people start studying for this after the first unit has been completed, because we understand there's a lot to take in when you start this program, and it's nothing to worry about. You will be studying a level 7 qualification. Functional skills is at level 2, so there's nothing to worry about there. In terms of the admissions criteria, there are 2 criteria. So the first one is if you have 3 years management experience, so that's both line management and project management experience, and a 2-1 degree from a recognised university or equivalent, then you can apply, and providing you have the support from your employer and you meet that criteria, you'll be accepted onto the programme. The next criteria is admissions criteria 2, which has been a really popular criteria. So we'd ask for significant management experience. So that's 5 years of project or line management experience. We'd ask that you have a substantial record of achievement in business and leadership. And you can demonstrate that through submitting a CV. So we've got an understanding of how you've developed in your career. And this is for people who've got below a 2-1 or no formal university degree. And on our programs at the moment, on average, it's about 31% of people who've come onto the program have not got a 2-1 degree, who've never been to university. And the people who've come down this route are excelling. They're doing really, really well. And we'd encourage you, if you fall into this category, to apply for the program, because this is what apprenticeships are about. It's actually about widening the access to universities and senior level qualifications. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to contact us. What I would also like to point out, there has been a change in the actual entry criteria, is that heads of organizations are no longer eligible for the program. So if you are a chief executive, you are the most senior person in your organization, or managing director or an owner, you're not allowed to apply for the program anymore. And this is really owing to a rule change from the SFA, meaning that as an apprenticeship learner, you must be able to learn in an upwards direction as well as laterally, guided by a more senior person in the organization. It's also worth noting that as an organization, you must provide enough opportunity for learners to access other departments in order to gain necessary expertise to meet those knowledge, skills and behaviours of the SLA. Okay, so in terms of the application process, so first of all, we're going to send you the slide deck out, so you've got some information on the program. You can find out more at our website. So there's the address there. You'll be able to click on that when we send you the slides. And you've got Jill's contact details. So you've got her email and her direct dial mobile number. We are opening up applications in October. We're just making some updates to our AppTem system, but it will open in October. So please review those admissions requirements. And there is a deadline of the 10th of January for applying for the program. What I like to point out here is that we are not waiting to batch all the applications and then take decisions. So people apply, and then we review the application and come back on a case-by-case basis. So I really would encourage early application, because it's a very popular program. So once it's full, we're not going to be putting any more cohorts. So I'd encourage you to apply at the earliest opportunity. If you've got any questions about the program, you can come to us. We'd also strongly encourage you to speak to your line manager and get approval. We have had a case where somebody's gone through the whole application process, and when we've gone to liaise about contracts, is they've not got approval from the line manager to attend. So it's vital that the line manager agrees it up front. Again, we're happy to speak to any line managers about their responsibilities for the program or the detail of the program. What we'd also ask you to let us do is contact us. Let us know that you were going to apply, because this helps us manage demand. Gather those all-important GCSE certificates and references. And then what we will do is we will send you an email inviting you to apply via our AppTem system. So this is our apprenticeship application and management system. The benefit of this is you can apply and take your time over it. So you can actually save your application as it's going along. So you don't have to do everything in one evening. You could do it over the course of a week. We'd also then need to agree contracts with employers. So people haven't got a contract already set up for apprenticeships with the University of Manchester. We would have to work that through. You would then apply. And once we've got the contracts sorted, we've reviewed your application, you've met the entry requirements, you would then be accepted onto the program itself. Now, just to manage expectations, to be honest, this process probably takes about 8 weeks for us to review all the documentation and make a decision and get the contracts finalized. So it's nothing to worry about. Some people accept an answer fairly quickly. It will take about 8 weeks. And that's why we set a deadline of the 10th of January, so that we're ready when the March cohort comes around, and you're all set up on the virtual learning environment and ready to go for that first day. That's why the deadline's earlier for the March cohort. So I hope that gives you a good overview of the application process. As I've said, please feel free to contact us if you've got any questions. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand back to Jill, who's going to provide a summary of today's webinar.
Thank you, Stuart. So this is our final slide, wrapping up, just to summarise what is different about our senior leader apprenticeship at Alliance Manchester Business School, and why would you consider doing it? Well, as you've heard from Stuart, the support on a postgraduate programme is unprecedented with the practice-based tutors and the regular meetings. The Hogan Psychometric Assessment is the best tool that there is. So you've got that all-important, what I call a holistic approach to you as a leader. It's not just the knowledge, it's you within that context. You will have access to some amazing study skills and resources called My Skills Essentials. As you go through the program, you'll come out with 8 documents for to display the impact that your work is having on your organisation. We can demonstrate a proven record of success. We've got 230 learners on 11 different cohorts over the last 3 years. World-class lecturers will be teaching you in fantastic facilities, plenty of green spaces on campus for your breaks, great networking from the other learners. And finally, by the way, I'm the first port of call, first point of contact for those of you that are interested to pursue this. And what I usually do is organise a 30-minute Teams meeting with you to discuss your own personal background and your concerns, and to make sure that this programme is right for where you are up to in your career at the moment. So in summary, the benefits to you are that you're all in a niche area of expertise at the moment, but this program will broaden you out and uplift you to be confident with the other departments and areas of your organisations. You'll feel more confident in meetings with senior leaders, and you'll feel that you're playing a more significant role in the strategic direction of your organisation. And to those of you who are heads of HR and L&D, you'll get enthusiastic employees, highly motivated, bringing fresh ideas, and that will help with staff retention and motivation going forwards. So that's the end of the presentation, everybody. We'll just put my contact details up on the final slide and invite you to submit any questions you like, anything you might not have heard very clearly that you'd like us to go over again. So we'll just give you a moment or two to type in the chat box. Normally we get quite a flurry of questions, don't we, Stuart? In fact, they're normally there already.
I guess we've answered everyone's questions today, Jill.
We must have done, and yet we've actually shortened this presentation because excuse me, it was getting a bit long at one point, so we've taken some of the detail out. But of course, you can always email. There's my email address, and ring up. Often people think of a question once they've come off this, or it'll occur to them later in the day. That's absolutely fine. We have got, I'll tell you what we've got that's useful that I send out as a sort of next stage when somebody tells me that they're very interested. I've got a checklist of things that, you know, an at a glance list of things that you need to have or not have done before. Sometimes we get people applying who have already covered too much of the ground. You know, they've already done some sort of a business or leadership course at this level, and we're not allowed to accept them by the rules of the apprenticeship. We might think that they'd be a great learner, but we're not allowed. What else? Yeah.
Okay. I think we've answered all the questions there, Jill. So I think we can probably give people 10 minutes back to go and have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, rather than me just waffling on here. So yeah, I think we've been going 45 minutes. So we'd like to thank you very much for your interest and bearing with us. If you wouldn't mind waiting till next week for the recording to be sent, that would be great. But do get back in touch. And as I say, we've got more to tell you about, and we can organise a meeting with you. So thank you very much and have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.